Hello and welcome to yet another episode of What's Brewing with CIM. My name is Shamil Akbar. I am your host for this episode, and joining me is a very special guest all the way from the United Kingdom. Say hello to Maggie Jones, the Director for Qualifications and Partnerships attached to the Chartered Institute of Marketing UK. Hello Maggie, how are you?
I'm very well. I'm very pleased to be here.
Right, so as we enjoy a cup of coffee at Barista, we shall get into talking about CIM. What does CIM have to offer and the entire field of marketing that we've come to love. So first things first, Maggie, what specific capabilities do you think that 2026 is bringing on the table?
It's definitely all about AI. AI. There's nothing else. Nobody's talking about anything else at the moment. And hopefully 2026 will be the year when people start to really engage and embrace AI, because it's not going to go away. A lot of people are calling it comparing it to the Industrial Revolution in the way that it will change the way that we work. And it can actually be used to support effective and efficient decision making and to give us more research-led decisions. And we need to, as I say, embrace and engage AI and all that it can bring to us. And I think that it's the age-old thing that there won't be less people doing things, but people will be doing things differently. And hopefully that will mean that we actually engage with those customers in a much more meaningful way. So yeah, it's AI. There are a plethora of training courses out there, our own included. Lots and lots of content that we've produced in terms of webinars and podcasts about how it can be used. And finally, we do have qualifications that offer AI modules. So that's where we're focusing, definitely.
On that, I think especially your point on AI being the defining point of 2026, especially when computers came out the first time, people thought, okay, we are going to lose our jobs. But that never happened. It just changed, transformed, and uplifted the way we do things, the quality of our work, how connected we are, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So CIM is expected with AI, but of course, the common accusation is, look, people will forget how to think because AI is doing all the thinking for them. In that context, Maggie, as an educationist, where does CIM come into the mix? What is CIM doing? And you mentioned a lot of nuggets in terms of what you're doing. If you can elaborate on that.
So I think AI can lend itself to both the art and the science side of marketing. So in terms of the science, the analytics, the better crunching of data, the greater understanding of data, and will enable us to meet customer needs more effectively. On the art side, it actually allows us to try out creative treatments without going all the way down the road of creating them to use and go, actually, that's not quite right. So it allows us to test. It allows us to be creative in our thinking and develop more options for discussion. I think it's going to significantly enhance the process of marketing and the thinking of marketers as well.
Right. So I'm going to get you read us some examples. Let's start with some. How has the qualification transformed? Can you share a few interesting modules?
Yeah, we have AI in marketing. We have MarTech. And AI in marketing is most definitely the most heavily demanded because our qualifications have a mandatory element and a elective element. So people are voting to do the AI and the technology-based modules. And that is very, very strong. We've changed our qualification structure slightly because what we've done is we've made our modules shorter and sharper so that people can get into the content, take an assessment and move on. and actually better fit a qualification to their needs and their current job role or the job role that they're going to go for next. So yes, and if we look at our training courses, again, AI is the most heavily demanded, and there are various. So we're now starting to think, we're starting to create training around specific areas. So using AI for copywriting, and I think that's quite a nice one, because it shows that you still need to have the skill to know whether that is
How to use AI
absolutely.
and to get what you want.
Absolutely. The creative element is still the human element, really, to evaluate those options.
It's managing AI is in certain ways managing a person. You need to be an expert, or you need to be well-rounded in what you want AI to do. So then it can exactly do what it wants.
Nobody is going to look at a piece of content that is generated by AI and go, oh, there you are then. They are going to review it. They're going to look at how closely it meets the brand needs and the target audience. So, yeah.
Right. So that was the talk on how CIM immediately does things to help people's hunger to learn more about AI. Now let's look at the end game in the longer term. Can you share some examples where CIM's qualifications or training programs have helped a human being, a marketer, a manager evolve into senior leadership roles? How does it build the capacity?
Yeah, so in terms of marketing as a profession, CIM have always taken the 360-degree view of this. Marketing drives the business, and therefore needs to be at the heart of the business. It needs to create the values and the direction of travel. So if we look at the capabilities that a marketer needs, we developed a standards framework. It's known as the Global Professional Marketing Framework, GPMF. And we developed that through linking with industry, academics, people who'd taken our qualifications across the globe and through sectors. And we've arrived at that framework, which it looks quite one-dimensional when you look at it. But if you start to unpack it, it brings to life the key areas of capability that marketers need. And it then translates those into capability statements for any of 5 levels. So a marketer coming in at the aware level, there's a set of capability standards for them, all the way up to expert. And that governs everything that we do. And leadership and management is a key part of that. And another key part of it is the commercial aspects of the business. So I think when you perhaps look at the framework, you can see that we have engaged with the whole scope of marketing. It's not just about product proposition, or it's not just about marketing communications. It is about how marketing contributes to the business. And that's what we've always done. And that's what everything that we do focuses on that. So, yeah.
Right. I think so. It's a nice balance that we are trying to find. We have on one side AI technology on the rise, but then we also have skills, capabilities, and the GPMF. Sort of brings it together to have a beautiful marriage, as they say.
It's really to allow people to contextualize where their development needs to be, and to understand perhaps when they look at the capability statements themselves, how that would apply to their role, either now or in their future development.
Yes, and like you said, I'm always a strong believer of marketing as a culture of an entire corporate sort of helps drive the corporate further and faster, because it once again as a profession takes a balanced approach of consumer production to the people associated with the production and making the best for all, isn't it?
That's it. And also in a responsible way. Everything that we do now, there is the ethical and responsible marketing approach built into that. And as an organisation, over the next about 3 to 5 years, we will be focusing on 3 key agendas, and that will be leadership, digital agility, and responsible marketing. So rather than trying to do everything, we will focus on those things because we think that's the way that marketing can move forward as the driver of business.
It's beautiful. It's a three-prong approach to leading businesses and perhaps also leading life. You have leadership, you have your vision, then you have agility in how you do it.
Yeah.
And also in the back of your mind, you need to have that responsibility.
Absolutely.
That makes you a well-rounded person, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. So I think we take a pivot from the conversation of marketing and let's double click on Sri Lanka. We're in Sri Lanka, you're in Sri Lanka, you've visited Sri Lanka plenty of times.
I have. Yeah.
And you've also have your experiences in South Asian countries, not to mention that Sri Lanka is the biggest overseas market for
It is.
CIM.
It's our second biggest market. After the UK, Sri Lanka is the second biggest market. So, yeah.
Then I'm sure you would have done your analysis, your understanding of the Sri Lankan people. I'm curious to learn from you. What do you think is the biggest point for learning and improvement in terms of marketing knowledge and how we do business in this part of the world?
Since I've been coming to Sri Lanka, I have noticed a phenomenal, thank you, rate of change. And in terms of the markets that you are now serving, tourism, hospitality, it's a very agile market and it's moving very, very quickly. And that is really how does marketing sustain that growth and that direction of travel. And yeah, Sri Lankan marketers are also very committed to their education. And I think, and we had graduation yesterday, and that was very, very evident in the room. I think now we have to encourage Sri Lankan marketers to go that next stage and make sure that they get the personal accreditation that chartered marketer brings to them, because that will be, if you like, the badge that singles people out in the future. But yeah, very, very quick to move, agile, and very open to new areas of learning.
Right. I think in that context, in terms of what you mentioned of how we should now be ready to take that next step as marketers of Sri Lanka, what specific interventions has CIM been doing to sort of nurture this, to cater to these needs of Sri Lankans and South Asians?
Yes. So we are just in the test phase of a product that has been built on the GPMF. So we've taken all of those standards and all the capability statements, and we've built them into what is known as the Marketing Capability Index. And it's a staged approach, but essentially it will allow marketers at any career stage to test their skills in any areas of the GPMF. There is the first stage would be to take a pulse check. So the pulse check is 35 to 40 minutes. It's an analysis of all of the 8 segments within the GPMF, and it gives you a rating between aware and expert. That then allows you to say, okay, well, I actually thought my digital agility skills were higher than that. Why is it that I'm coming out as capable and not higher than that? And that means that you can then delve deeper into that segment. It takes a long time to do the whole thing, and we wouldn't want somebody to sit down and do the whole thing, but we want to use this tool as a way of engaging and communicating to people how they can develop and what specific areas they need to develop in. Because the output of that analysis will direct them towards content. And it will direct them towards written content, podcasts, webinars, everything that we have. And we are engaging with marketing institutes across the globe. And we want to actually have this as a global tool. So eventually, when it is populated to large enough numbers to be a solid research base. We can slice this data by country, we can slice it by sector, and we can start to report on what difference
Insights, yeah.
do you have to, what different capabilities do you need to be a marketer in Sri Lanka to compared to the UK or compared to Zimbabwe or compared to Kenya. So that would, and I think some of the findings that will emerge from this might be quite
Absolutely.
surprising.
I'm looking forward to it. So this tool, it's called the Marketing Capability.
It's the Marketing Capability Index.
Yes.
And the first step is to do the pulse check.
Yes.
And that will be, as I say, it's in the test phase at the moment, but it's very shortly going to be widely available. It's also free to use.
Oh, I was going to ask that. Yes.
And it's based on an individual, but an organisation, if they want to put their individuals through this to understand what the organisational skills are, that can happen as well. So it's for both.
It's interesting. It not only is a mirror that shows your reflection in the field of marketing, it also gives you tips and tricks on how to polish up your weaknesses and make you even better.
Yeah,
I think that's the part that I love the most.
That's right. And then of course you can go back and retake that area of the test to see if you've improved.
Okay.
So it is that continuous personal development and improvement aspect that is quite key.
Maggie, when is this coming out? I can't wait to try it.
Well, I'm back in the UK next week, and that's the first thing I'll be looking at, so that we can get that out there and being.
The first half of 2026.
Oh yes, definitely.
Oh, okay. Well, before that, looking at your expression.
Yeah.
Right, excited for that. So, on that note, Maggie, we've spoken about capability building, not only for Sri Lanka, the entire world, and through this we also learn more about the different marketers across the globe, and who knows, that will also pave the way for several collaborative learning, cross-cultural experiences, so on and so forth. The future is bright, isn't it?
It is, and we're developing those relationships with the marketing institutes within various countries, because we absolutely acknowledge that sometimes home produced content may actually suit that market much better. So in the fullness of time, if we are collaborating with somebody, that their content could be fed through as well. So yes.
Right. I should have asked this earlier on, but it just got me thinking, why does CIM do all of this? Of course, CIM is already well known across the globe for being the leading provider of quality marketing education.
Yeah.
Beyond that, why would CIM see the need to nurture marketers, to show them their weaknesses, gaps, and work on skill development, capability building? Where does it all link?
It links to our Royal Charter. So we can award Chartered Marketer because we have a Royal Charter. And when you have a Royal Charter, there are objects attached to that charter. And when we developed, in 2023, we sat down and said, right, we are going to develop a 7-year strategy, because 3 years is never long enough. You spend 1 year doing it, and by the time you got to the third, it's sort of, you've got to do it again.
Yeah.
So in our 7-year strategy, we went back to our Royal Charter, and we realised that although we were focusing very much on membership, qualifications and training, that our Royal Charter did not say anything about those products. It actually said that we should be focusing on developing the profession of marketing, and in its entirety. So we've switched that around now, and of course we still do qualifications and membership, but they are outputs, and it's about making sure that the marketing profession know the direction of travel and how they can keep up with that and what they might need to pick up along the way. So we've really just turned stuff around and said, this is what marketing's about. In doing that, we want to make sure that the profession is acknowledged as being a driver of business. There is a risk. HR is widely accepted as you need to have qualifications because there is a risk to employing people and doing things incorrectly. there is just as much risk if you don't actually produce the right products and services in the right way.
100%.
And the risk is similar. So we want to make sure that message is getting across. Marketing is just as important as all of the other professional bodies.
Wow. I think I got a nice way of putting this across, or sort of elaborating on this. If you look at marketing as a profession across the world, I'm going to ask you two short questions. The first question is, which skill do you think is being misused? Or what are marketing managers or brand managers doing incorrectly, increasingly in the modern day and age?
I think I need to turn that around slightly in that when we developed our new suite of qualifications, the message that came across very, very strongly from industry was about the commercial aspects. So marketers have traditionally shied away from the commercial aspects, but you don't actually have to know lots of financial. You don't have to develop your financial acumen to such a level that you could be a finance director, but you do have to have a basic knowledge of how the business works and how, more importantly, how your business works. What's the contribution? What's the profit? What if you need to push some buttons quickly to get a shift? What are you going to do? So it's about understanding the business. So it is in that commercial aspect and analytical aspects. That's not to say that you have to be analytical, but you do need to have that sort of merging of, I understand enough to determine what the next stage will be.
And that is what will drive you from good to great.
Yes.
From a good marketer to a great business leader.
Yes.
So that was the first part of my question. Okay, what are the gaps and what are people doing wrong? And your answer was not having enough exposure to a commercial management or commercial understanding. The second part of my question is, what do you think is becoming obsolete in terms of traditional marketing? 20 years ago, something that would have been very relevant. What is sort of going off trend right now?
Not quite off trend. I think it may come back, but the use of the more traditional media, we've focused very, very much on digital communications, digital marketing, the ways to communicate to people digitally. But actually, when they're not using their phone or scrolling or whatever, they are walking around and they're noticing things. And actually, I think that the use of below the line media may need to come back as that reminder and that point of differentiation. So I personally, I think it's the wider aspects of communication that perhaps the profession needs to reconsider, because not everybody is in that target group. And we need to understand that our products and services can have a meaning or have a part of lots of segments, age group segments, target segments, and so digital marketing is not always the way to get to those. So I think it's the wider communication skills.
Absolutely, because gone are the days where only the big brands rule the world. We have so many digital native brands which are non-existent online.
Absolutely.
Sorry, non-existent offline.
Yes, yeah.
Similarly, the larger brands who are relatively silent online sort of don't get through to the younger generations of today's day and age.
And we have to remember that, everybody, you can communicate in a number of ways, and that wider aspect of communication, I think, has got slightly lost over the last few years.
Yeah. What's your final advice to a budding marketer or even a senior marketer who feels one of these two? Okay, maybe I'm doing something wrong, or maybe something that I know isn't worth it anymore. What is your one advice that'll help them on their next step?
So the Marketing Capability Index will be the sort of measure of that. But there has to be an acceptance that continual personal development has to happen. It has to happen to keep yourself up to date and skilled. And if we look at how you become a chartered marketer, it takes you through that CPD route. And when you've got there, it really confirms three aspects. You're committed. So you are a member of your professional body, because you can't be a chartered marketer without being a member. You are competent, and competence can be measured through your academic qualifications, your knowledge, your job role, what you've been doing. So there's lots and lots of different ways to measure that competence. But the icing on the cake, and this is what chartered brings to you, is that you are current. So you have made sure you have actually looked at how you're going to make sure that your capability and your skills are relevant, and you do it and you submit your CPD record on an annual basis to make sure that you are current at all times. And if you haven't got one of those three, it's a little bit like a three-legged stool. It will fall over. But that is the mark. And membership gives seniority or level of experience, but chartered is on top of that. Chartered is not a membership grade. It's a badge to say, I'm up to date. So I'm a member and I'm up to date. I'm a fellow and I'm up to date. Or I'm an associate and I'm up to date. So that's what I think they need.
And that's also CIM's way of saying, gone are the days where what made you great makes you great anymore. Absolutely. It is what you do today that will continue to make you great.
Yes. I mean, we talked about that at graduation yesterday. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a pinnacle of your career, but tomorrow you've got to carry on learning.
Yep. Happens in all industries, starting from sports, medicine, technical skills, and same comes on to marketing as well. And that's where CIM sort of takes us full circle to ensure that we become great marketers and business leaders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Thank you very much, Maggie, for your time with us at this episode of What's Brewing with CIM. It's a pleasure to have you here in Sri Lanka at Barista to enjoy a cup of coffee while we talk of marketing.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to all our viewers for joining us with yet another episode of What's Brewing with CIM. Take care.